The stories that haunted him. The Toolbox Killers, the Sunset Strip Killers, and a cold case.
These guys were so vicious to videotape and audio torture these young kids, and that was played in court.
Bittaker was the most evil man because of that toolbox.
People were screaming, listening to this poor girl getting tortured. I was with the body, then chop the body up, saw the body up in pieces, put them into trash bags, and dump them on various freeways.
I bet the killers knew that. They had an advantage.
They started looking to start nabbing boys.
How do you even digest that? I've been around for a long time. I can't imagine a human being thinking about doing those types of things.
What made you go in 1982, look at this cold case and triggers you to say, let me take a look at that? A van of torture. A Hollywood actor killed over a bad business deal. A sadistic couple killing on Sunset Boulevard. LAPD legend Tom Lange is back in studio with us today. He's going to be talking about the stories that maybe even haunted him, that he covered in the heyday of his brilliant career at LAPD. The Toolbox Killers, the Sunset Strip Killers, and a cold case that Tom Lange picked up over 40 years ago. We're talking about it all today. Welcome, everybody. I'm Tom Zenner. Tom Zenner Scandal right here on YouTube. What a great day you chose to watch us. The one and only Cato Kalin.
Love that guy.
Co-host, 1 Degree of Scandalous right here. Good to see you, Cato.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Always great to see the legend Tom Lange in the house. Always have to shake your hand, Tom. Such a pleasure to have you here.
You know, you say we talk cereal. It's like at the supermarket, Tom. We go there. It's a cereal aisle, but when we have Tom Lange here, we have a serial killer aisle. You know, Tom, and we're shopping.
We've dealt with now for the last few years what you've dealt for the last 50, right? These crimes. Now we don't, see the things that you see, handle them, and be responsible for solving a lot of them, Tom. But it's crazy when you get into these cases, and that's one thing we're going to talk about today is the 70s, the 80s, all these serial killers that were roaming around here in LA. I mean, when you hear the details, it's going to freak you out and blow your mind. But here we are again. And by the way, 30 years since you two were center stage at the O.J. Simpson trial, right?
Tom, don't leave me hanging there, buddy.
We're the time, the whole thing, you look back, it's 50 years. That's half a century.
It's unbelievable. 30 years from the trial.
And not only that, because of Tom and our show, 1 Degree of Scandalous there, Tom and I will be going soon up to Carmel, California, the area of Seaside, doing a public speaking with 240 police officers and detectives. So looking forward to that.
They wanted Keto. They wanted Keto up there.
This is going to be
the K-train.
I can't. This is just going to be great. This is, it's so funny, Tom Zenner. We have Tom here, Tom Lange, and how many times did we say, Tom, no, don't, save this for the show.
Right.
No, Tom, save this for the show. Because we had it an hour before we started taping. Like, no, Tom, save this for the show. Because you've got, your life is a page of every different murder, serial killer. You have a story about all this, and that's why the descriptions of all these serial killers that we have from Tom mentioned Toolbox, Sunset Murders, and things that affect you. You're saying that you're from Manhattan Beach and
killers roaming our neighborhood back then.
Everywhere.
The more you dig into these things, these little things come back. Your memory clicks.
Yeah.
And I remember that something about this happened and something that's never been written that you didn't put in a book or that didn't come out of trial. There's always a little something that comes up the more you dig into them.
Right. I think you pop your head and go, oh, now I remember. It's the same on doing our show. It's like every time we speak, a memory comes to me and then a question comes for Tom Lange. Like, oh, okay, this kind of makes sense.
Yeah. And by the way, Tom's great book here, The Dirty Business of Murder. He wrote it with his partner, Robert Souza. We're going to get Robert on the show here as well. I'm really excited about that. But so many of the stories are here. Tom sent me a great list of all the crazy cases. And let's just start with it, Tom. Cato has a couple things that he wants to specifically ask you about the era, that time frame, and why this was the hotbed. But let me start with this one, the Toolbox Killers. You can hand out a list, a Microsoft Word document of all these killers, and you go from one to the next to the next to the next. You can't believe how brutal, how horrific, what it must have been like for the families involved in this thing, let alone the people trying to catch these creeps. But the one to me, I don't know why, but it's the Toolbox Killers. And they were roaming in the South Bay where I live, in Manhattan Beach, Redondo, Hermosa Beach area. They killed 6. I think it was a total of 5 or 6.
It was 5, I believe.
Yeah, and Tom, these guys got off on it. And would that number just grow and grow and grow if somehow they weren't caught?
No question it would grow. These guys were so vicious as to videotape and audio torture these young kids, girls, after they kidnapped them. And there's one in particular, Bittaker and Norris. Norris would be driving this van, and Bittaker would be in the back of one of the victims. This was the last one, I believe, the fifth victim that they picked up in the San Fernando Valley, in the Northeast Valley. Things were getting a little hot down in the beach cities, obviously, where these girls were getting snatched. And they were taping this torture of this young girl, and that was played in court. And the jury just went berserk. I mean, people were screaming and everything else, listening to this poor girl getting tortured before they killed her. This is what kind of animals these were.
Mm-hmm.
That level was pretty hard to match. But the closest thing that came to that would be this Randy Kraft a couple of years later down in the Orange County area also, and then up in L.A. But serial killers don't just go out and pick somebody up and kill them and dump them. A lot of times you have this torture business, and that kind of separates them to me. There's a special difference that raises it another level. I mean, if you're going to kill somebody, you're going to kill them, you get off on that, you get off on that. But to go out of your way to torture first and then document that torture on an audio tape.
And kids, they were
They
kids.
were young girls to go off, and it's hard to even imagine.
Well,
And they would drive around with them for hours.
Yeah.
For hours, this would go on.
Right. I remember episode, Tom, that was your number one. We had the top 5 serial killers. That was
Yeah,
one of the
it
most
was.
effective, Tom. Back to that, you said also that they started getting bored with it, and they said they started looking to start nabbing boys.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting enough, during this time, they'd been arrested, Bittaker and Norris. And we'd had 3 or 4 other serial killings going at the same time. And one of them, Bob Souza, my old partner, was handling it. That was a freeway killer. Mm-hmm. And they hadn't identified him yet, but the MOs appeared to be similar. Only one was girls and one was boys. So Bob wanted to interview Bittaker and Norris to see if he could get something. Now, they had a trial pending. So chances of them rolling over were nil and nil.
Yeah.
But for some reason, Norris decided to talk, maybe because of his ego or whatever else. Bittaker wouldn't have anything to do with it. He was probably the more vicious of the two. So Bob sat down with Norris, and Norris kind of laid out their M.O. And Bob was familiar, wanted to become familiar with that because it was so similar to his. So they had a van that they had named some silly names. I forget the name of the thing that they named the van, but
We know it wasn't the Scooby-Doo van. It was a killer van.
Yeah, it's something like that. And anyway, they would go out and they would use this van, and that way they could pull up against close to a victim, open the sliding door and grab the victim and pull them in without anybody seeing anything.
Yeah.
So he looked at that as an MO, and it helped. And this guy Norris went along with it. Later on, when Bob made the arrest of the freeway killer, Bonin, all of these things seemed to fit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's all the great writers that have this. I think they probably go through files like you have, and then they write their stories, and Hollywood makes movies of them. 2 of them that just stick in my head that are so identical to this is Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. They say it's based on Henry Lee Lucas, another serial killer, but he did the same thing with his partner in the film. They torture and tape, which is insane to relive it while they watch and have dinner and beer. The other one is Walk Among the Tombstones, where they did exactly that with David Harbour, who was a great actor, Liam Neeson, where they had the van picked up and they would torture adults, the women basically, and chop them up in the van and tape it. So I just think that when they hear these stories, people are like on the show, I'm fascinated by it. So they know they're going to get viewers to watch these grotesque things happening on film.
Right. And the sad thing is, you go, that actually happened in real life. I mean, this is 79 when you're doing the Skid Row stabbings, probably, right? Late 70s. You were busy with that. You got the Toolbox Killer. You got the Freeway Killer. The Freeway Strangler or the Freeway Killer that you were referencing there, 32 victims. I mean, what is the mood at Parker Center or just amongst fellow detectives? I mean, is it got the pressure to find these guys and then the next day another body? And then there's like 3 or 4 serial killers working at the same time. Yeah. You know?
The biggest problem was initially communication, or better yet, lack of communication between different agencies. It's always been a problem, probably still is today, if you've got 3 or 4 different agencies involved with the same killer. Now, the killers know that. A lot of them realize that. We had people getting snatched from downtown from the beach cities. The beach cities, each beach city has their own policing agency. And so they didn't communicate with us. We had one case on the toolbox thing, this young girl that I discussed, who was picked up, and nobody was talking to each other. The same with the Freeway Killer. We had 3 different agencies involved. Nobody was talking to one another. The biggest problem we had was nobody got together and did anything about it. Now, I have to say that our guys did with John St. John, which is a very well-known old L.A. homicide cop, and Bob Souza were tasked with getting together with the L.A. sheriffs and a couple other agencies, Burbank and Glendale, I think, was involved during the Hillside and also during the Freeway Killers. People were finally beginning to talk. In one case, one of the Hillside killers, Bianchi, was being looked at as a serious suspect by LAPD, by the Orange County Sheriffs, and by also, I believe it was Burbank PD, but nobody knew it. Mm-hmm. So that was a lack of communication, which was the biggest problem we had at the time.
No big database that you could put all the evidence in, because I mean, think of it. I mean, this is connecting dots. That's what this is about. Yeah. And with resources, with technology, with the advancements that you would have now, totally different world. But back then, and that's so frustrating because just to communicate in general is tough. I mean, we're talking rotary phones. You know, there's no email, there's no texting, there's nothing like that. There's no GPS. And God, it's just like it would prolong everything. And I bet the killers knew that. They had an advantage.
That was one reason why there were probably so many. You couple that with the fact that hitchhiking was a big deal 30, 40 years ago. Nobody had cameras like they do today. Mm-hmm. The weather out here, the dump spots that you have, and that's what serial killers looked at. Mm-hmm. If you're going to snatch somebody, you got to know where to dump them, where it's pretty safe. You're not going to get caught. And obviously, they didn't for a long time. And one of those reasons was lack of communication, lack of follow-up. You didn't know what was going on maybe 2 miles down the street because it was a different jurisdiction. That began to change. And again, one reason was there were no automated systems then. There were a lot of, like I said, no texting and no communication. Yeah. That has gotten better to the extent that today in the city of L.A. and the county, there's something like 70% less homicides than you had 35 years ago.
Yeah, and I was saying earlier, I think I'm answering one question because I said 1979, 83, there's this, especially in California, all this serial killing going on. But the reason I would imagine is because it was easier to get away with. I was going, what's going on in the world that there's so many serial killers? But then again, California was the hotbed for bikinis, women, Sunset Boulevard, drinking, drugs. And it just, people would flock to that place. And then if someone has no job and, maybe have to go to crime. So I thought it probably became pretty easy for someone to say, I'm just going to kill for money.
Well, if they're sick too, right?
Yeah. Well, a crazy psychopath.
Yeah, they're beyond sociopath. You look at all of these, obviously they're all sociopaths, but they're also psychopaths. I mean, sociopaths, there's a lot of sociopaths running around loose. I think we talked about this before. Yeah. They're not all serial killers. Psychopath is a little different. That killing doesn't bother them. They get off on it. Mm-hmm. How do you even digest that? I've been around for a long time. I can't imagine a human being thinking about doing those types of things.
How many psychopaths have you had in an interrogation room?
Oh, gosh.
That was an actual psychopath?
Well, it's kind of hard to say. Some were actually witnesses. I mean, Laurel Canyon, we had witnesses who were probably sociopaths and psychopaths. certain serial killers, it's a little hard to say. I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist, but after a while, you get to talking to people, and you get to say something's wrong here.
Yes.
I better read a book on this and see if I can see what the hell is going on, because this guy ain't right.
This guy.
And there's a lot of that, and unfortunately, there's still out there.
Yeah. And when you say that guy ain't right, here's one of them, the trash bag killer.
Yeah.
Patrick Kearney, 21 victims, and suspected of several others that they didn't even know about. This he was a necrophiliac, and he cruised in the South Bay as well, and would mutilate the bodies, had sex with the corpses. I mean, just when you think you can't get more twisted and ridiculously nutso, it does.
Decapitated the head and kept the head. It is that. I mean, obviously a psychopath that do these things.
This guy, like I said, he hit the beach cities. He was very, very intelligent. Things got a little warm for him down there, so he went into L.A., and the last 3 or 4 victims he snatched at MacArthur Park. He knew, again, this deal about no communication between agencies, so he would snatch them, say, from MacArthur Park or the beach cities. Part of his M.O. was he'd be driving, picking up homosexuals for relationships or whatever, and they'd be driving down the street, and he would find out when the timing was just right, and he had, I believe it was a .25 caliber weapon. The victim would be in the front seat, and he'd just reach over and put one on the side of their head and kill his victim and drive out to San Bernardino County, Riverside County, have sex with the body, necrophiliac, then go to work, chop the body up, saw the body up into pieces, put them into trash bags, therefore the trash bag killer, and dump them on various freeways. This went on and on and on. The folks who were picked up in Los Angeles, most of them were homeless, didn't have families, weren't reported as missing. Bodies were never found for a while, but they're found in a completely different jurisdiction, so nobody puts this together. Things got a little hot for Kearney, so he went back to his family in Texas. And for some reason, he felt that he should tell somebody about his family and that he was involved in all these killings. They talked him into coming back to L.A., going to, I believe it was San Bernardino Sheriff's, turning himself in and admitting to these killings. If he hadn't done that...
Holy crap.
He hadn't done that, maybe he'd still be out there. I mean, who knows?
What a persuasive family to get him to actually do it. I mean, I hope someone went with him. I mean, he probably killed 10 people along the way. God.
But this is a very intelligent guy. You compare him to some of the other killers with an IQ of 78, a couple of the Skid Row killers. These aren't stupid people, but they get off on having sex with a dead body and then cutting the body up. And I mean,
what is his childhood like? It blows me away with this guy.
But you look at the way that these people went out. Mac Edwards was probably the first one, and that goes back to the 60s. He was kidnapping little boys, and he was a construction worker when all the freeways were being constructed out here, and several of his child victims were buried in the freeway construction when they were laying cement. Who knows what freeways and what was utilized and how many victims who were still missing were buried into these freeways. He killed himself in prison. He hung himself.
God, and you mentioned freeways, because I think that's a big part of it too. I mean, LA is so sprawling. If you don't live here, you've never been here. I mean, you go from the valley, what Tom is talking about, the San Fernando Valley, Kardashians, Calabasas, Burbank, that area, all the way down to Orange County. You're talking about 80 miles, 100 miles. I mean, freeways, multiple freeways, easy exits. Get off, get on, hide, side road, dump a body. And then with the Toolbox Killers and some of these other ones with the vans, they just open up the side of the van and yank their victim in.
Yeah.
So I think the freeways, it was just the perfect breeding ground, for it, with the weather, with the people that come here. All the crazies come here.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's sort of like with the Manson. We did our tour of going by Spawn Ranch. It was areas that I never knew existed where there's no cars, nothing but mountains. It's such an easy dump site they could see. Yeah. There's no cameras. Maybe even still today, I don't think there's cameras in those areas.
Still haven't found Shorty Shea, right? Spawn Ranch?
Oh, yeah. Oh, Shorty. Which one was he?
Ranch.
Did he work at Spawn Ranch?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Wow. Never found him, right?
No. Have you ever been out there? Have you ever been to Spawn Ranch?
Well, I live not too far from
That's
there.
right.
In fact, there's a studio out there I did a show in with Michael Connelly not too long ago, right in the middle of all of that.
Huh.
So who knows? I mean, how many bodies are out here in the hills that have been found?
Yeah.
That's what I thought when we were out there, because we went to Spawn Ranch. We did all the Manson sites. We were on Cielo Drive and the first victim. But that's what I was thinking too. That is like the spot where you could just bury bodies.
Yeah,
you know, and you never
bodies.
find coyotes. You know, everything's out there. They
Look
decompose.
at the desert and the mountains. I mean, if all those bodies stood up at the same time, it'd be a little crowded.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Man.
You
Yeah,
just never know. And these body counts, they're not always that accurate. You've got some that have killed maybe 30, 40 people, some maybe 100.
yeah.
Yeah, you know, and also with the killing of the Skid Row killers, they talk about killing transients. Is it a guy who slashes the throat? He's basically going on Skid Row and just killing because he knows there's no family. So are they just slashing the throats?
Well, that was Vaughn Greenwood was the first one, and he would the Skid Row slasher they called him. He did a couple in 1964, I think it was, and then he took off, went back east, and returned in '74 and started doing it again.
And that's not really looked into because no one's going to report transients being killed.
Well, a lot of times that's true.
Yeah.
But when you get a lot of them piled up, the MO is similar, and then you take a closer look. But you're right. No one is causing any problems. There were 3 different Skid Row killers during this time. Who was the media more interested in? The Skid Row killers with the transients or young girls getting snatched, brutalized, and dumped in the hills of Hollywood? Who cares more? All the media attention went to the girls, and these guys know that.
Yeah.
And they're not overly intelligent, but they don't think about those types of things. They are psychopaths.
Right.
And this is what they do, and it just doesn't bother them. It's just like it's a hobby or something for some of them.
And you said those guys were the ones with the lower IQ murder compared to like a Kearney.
The Skid Row one. Yeah, Kearney, he thinks things through. Kearney had everything planned. Even Kraft, Randy Kraft, he's 67 victims or something. Scorecard killer. He'd write information down and keep score, and he kept it in the trunk of his car about all the people he'd killed. He tortured too. It's one thing if you're going to kill somebody and dump them, okay? But why torture and then kill and then do what you do to the body and then dump it? And that's a special kind of a psycho.
Yeah, right.
Do you think about this? You know, you mentioned this, the bind, torture, and kill, the killer there. How these guys, if they're familiar with all these cases too, you know, Dennis Rader.
Why you think they do their research and try to
or
one up them or something?
Something like that, like because I think they're probably aware.
Well,
of these.
they're egomaniacs too. I would
and
imagine.
they keep souvenirs. The whole thing of
that's part. And what can they get away with? Prostitutes. One of the largest group of victims of serial killers is prostitutes. Look at up in Seattle, Green River Killer.
Hillside.
Went on for 20 years.
Yeah. I mean, they're so vulnerable, right? I mean, you pick them up for a trick and you never see them again.
Who cares about prostitutes? That's why we had 6 of them working at the same time in South Central L.A. 6 of them.
Wow. Tom, you know, the media could be a great tool, but man, you almost have to be afraid of freaking out the whole community. Like, how much information do you release? Because, I mean, you wonder if the general public knew how many serial killers, maybe even the authorities didn't know. But I mean, how did you always have a good relationship with the media and know how to leverage them when needed?
We were sort of covered. I mean, they'd leave us alone as the investigator. The department was big enough where we had people working press relations. And they would be informed what's going on, but we didn't give them a whole lot of information. We basically got left alone by the media. I think they respected what we were doing, and you got to be careful. We had some people who we could trust. And to this day, I know a couple of them still, that you could sit on something, but sooner or later you had to give it up. But we were pretty much covered, and press relations did a pretty good job doing that. But I also wonder about the media. It took them a while to catch on. You know, out in San Bernardino County, you got these bodies. What's the tie-in to MacArthur Park? What's the tie-in to the beach cities? And again, you've got smaller agencies who are not likely to get a hold of the big boys and discuss victims. Manhattan Beach, I think, had 2. And they had one homicide cop there who had a lot of emotional problems when this I don't know if I get in deep with that without getting into something.
Yeah.
He was a homicide detective, very emotional, and he was emotionally involved with the toolbox, and he handled 2 of these cases. And unfortunately, he committed suicide.
Wow. Well, you don't get like crimes like that in Manhattan Beach. So it had to be
but again,
devastating.
you look at the person who handles these things, you cannot get emotionally involved.
Right. Exactly.
I'm sorry, but he's a human being.
Right.
He has emotions and feelings. We all do.
Yeah.
It's how much of this can you take? And he apparently was in the wrong spot at the wrong time. And it affected him to the extent that he took his own life. And he's another victim.
I find that fascinating, Cato and Tom, because look how many crime scenes you've been on. And you fought in Vietnam, which you've said to us that was worse. What you saw in Vietnam doesn't compare to what you saw on the streets here in LA. But man, it just shows if you allow yourself, if you're a human being and you get emotionally involved in this thing, you have to somehow turn off a switch. Where this is a case, these are facts. I can't think about it other than go catch the guy who's doing it or girl. Yeah.
That's true. And you are that way or you're not. A lot of people worked homicide. I worked with some of them. And they shouldn't have been there in the first place. You go to the coroner's office, and it's not a pleasant thing to do to see somebody cut up. They're no longer a person, though. They're evidence. And I went there with one guy. I thought he wanted to be a homicide cop, and I told him what we're going to do when we got there. And you're getting that look, I don't know. He says, what does it smell like?
Yeah.
What does it feel? So I went there, and I'm getting stuff, looking at the victim and waiting for the pathologist to come in, and we're taking photographs and everything else. And I turn around, and he's facing this way, and he's in a corner like a little kid in school. Like sent to the corner. He's looking in the corner like this. I won't tell you his last name. We call him Skip. Skip, over here. I don't know if I want to. Skip, come on over here. He didn't want anything to do with it. That was the last time he was at the coroner's office. Some people just shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Some people shouldn't do what you do.
Yeah. I'm the guy that shouldn't do the investigating. I could not.
Well, you do other things.
I do other things,
and
right?
That's the way life is. Just because you see something on TV, that'd be kind of neat to get involved. It's not neat.
No.
It's messy. It sucks, right? Yeah. You don't like the smell. You don't like to see somebody cut up. Then don't do this. Mm-hmm. You have to. This is evidence now. If you don't look at this and know exactly what happened, you're not going to solve this case. Yeah. That person is still going to be out there busy killing people.
Yeah. I mean, that's what separates the great ones, the ones that can just do it and do it for multiple decades like you, Tom.
But I also think, Tommy, it's your base, too, of going your wife and your kid. You think about, okay, I'm at home now. That's work. This is home.
If you can shut it off. If you can.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's got something to do with it, and that's part of it. In fact, it's a big part of it. You can't get off work and worry about other things that you have no control over. That's just a lesson in life. Again, certain people are cut out to do certain things, and if you can't do it, get out.
Yeah, and because he doesn't want to bring his work home at dinner, he's going like, "Honey, can you pass me that arm? I mean chicken. Tom,
it was
honey,
a wing, not an arm.
I said wing.
I'll tell you one thing I am cut out to do. It's a warning for any serial killer that wants to roll through my neighborhood now. I have a burner. It's less lethal. I'll take your ass out. Here's my plan.
I want to get one.
Here's a plan. Oh, I can't wait to use it. Tom, these things, have you heard about the burner? Less lethal. He shoots these pellets.
Yeah, I heard about it.
Okay, so you come near me. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to unload multiple cartridges in you and then I'm going to stomp you to death. I'm going to stomp them to death.
It's a pellet. It becomes a tear gas, right?
Well, you have that option. You can get the ones that are tear gas. But Tom, these things, we shot them in our backyard just to see what happened. I mean, they're going through fences, man. You get hit in the face. Anyway, burn up.
Well, it's good to have a plan, but you always can't get to that plan.
That's true.
These things will happen when you least expect them, obviously, like we've all experienced in our
lives. That's why I get the burnout when I hear a fire truck go by. I'm always ready. I'm kidding.
Yeah. I always tell my wife, I always say, I think the biggest thing is to always be aware of your surroundings. I mean, attractive wife and everything, you go and I say, honey, you have no idea at the store of someone. I notice if someone looks and, someone's always got a different intention. I always think you have to be aware of your surrounding, of someone following, watching your routine. I think that is what I'm not a detective, but I think serial killers probably really know people's routines and how to surprise and create trust.
That's true with any crime. I tell that to my wife and my daughters and my kids that when you go to the ATM, we had a group just recently arrested out in Ventura County. It was following women. They thought they could get away with women easier than men home from the ATM. See how they were just sitting on ATMs and they would rob them when they got home.
Wow.
Well, one woman was aware of this and got a little information from the car and got a license number and reported it to the police, and one thing led to another, and they booked these guys. They're illegal aliens in the country from another country, robbing ATM people, getting ATM money out of the ATMs. Now, that could have led to something, to killings or whatever else eventually. But this woman was attentive, and she took a license number down. How many people would do that in the middle of the daytime? You get people walking around. Nobody's going to bother me.
Yeah.
In no time, this murder just happened last week, which is in Encino with the producer of American Idol.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I just think it's just so. It was just they walked in at wrong place, wrong time, where the thief is
Interrupted
Robert's
her
taking
and her
place.
husband were murdered.
and
burglary,
then they
right.
had to. Something happened where he killed the people. Maybe the man attacked him, obviously to protect his wife, and I don't know the case, so you probably have more insight than I do.
From what I've heard, but they walked in on a burglary
In their own house.
The irony is the neighbor saw the guy crawling over the wall, so he called it in. Meanwhile, before the police got there, they had the scuffle. Apparently, the couple walked in on him, and one thing led to another, and he killed both of them, shot them, and took off. Police showed up. Looked everything. They didn't see any forced entry. They didn't see any problems with anything, and they left. Mm-hmm. The bodies were in there 3-4 days before a relative called the police. Said, I'd like to check it out. Yeah. And then they found the bodies because nobody knew it.
Yeah,
that those things happen.
Okay, so here's a few things. We want to talk about the Sunset Strip killers, okay, because we teased that. There's an excerpt, a chapter in your book that we're going to get to, too. I have a question for you. We got the Olympics coming up here in 2028, right? And LA's a mess. So they got to clean it up, right? We're going to get the homeless off the street, I hope. I'm sure.
Good luck with it.
Yeah, right? But hopefully, they solve some problems. The Olympics were in LA in 1984. Mm-hmm. This is when multiple serial killers are running around. You had Richard Ramirez in 1984, starting. Was that a topic? Was that something that you guys addressed as a police force? Like, holy shit, we got people coming in from all over the world, and we got serial killers running around. Was that a point of emphasis at all?
No. Again, people, they watch TV, and why don't the police do this? Why don't the police do that? All police departments, especially large city police departments, are bureaucracies. What are bureaucracies? They're not proactive, they are reactive. We'll wait till that happens, and then we'll see if we can do something about it. You see that time and time and time and time. 20 years from now, we're going to be saying the same thing. Now, we're going to be around to say it, but somebody will. About the bureaucracies, we're a bureaucracy, and also a bureaucracy is interested in what? Imagery. Politics. Mm-hmm. Look at L.A. today. And I don't want to get off on that.
Right.
But L.A. today, is, you already said it's a mess in a lot of ways. And that's one of them. We're going to wait till it happens. We're going to worry about our imagery first. And it creates more problems. But again, you have to get used to that because nobody's going to take charge.
Yeah. Our great mayor, by the way, we have fire season starting, and she doesn't think the fact that LA right now does not have a fire chief is not a big deal.
Well,
bureaucracy, cover your ass, make excuses, blame somebody else.
They fill the reservoirs too.
Right.
And it would help if law enforcement got along. I mean, if you've got federal law enforcement or another agency with a felony warrant and you don't assist those people, there's something wrong. Yeah. Why aren't police working together? So we're a sanctuary city in a sanctuary state. We don't think we should have to work with another agency if they're going to arrest somebody who we don't want them to arrest.
Right. And then why do you think we have rings of criminals following people to the ATM?
Well, yes.
That's what it is. And the same thing, the home invasions, man, it's all organized. They come from a certain... So I know a lot of the countries they're from, and they know what they're doing.
Do our damn jobs.
Yeah.
If it doesn't look good to you, I'm sorry. Life is messy.
It's Mayor Bass, right?
Yeah.
The bee's not silent. No, I'm not sure.
Oh, you no.
What? Oh, because I get.
Cato flunked English.
I did.
We don't want anybody breaking in here. Watch what you're saying.
Anything for a joke. Hey,
I didn't know.
Hey, we're safe. If anyone did break in here, we're safe right now. I'm feeling really good about the guy that's in the green room and the guy across the across the hall from me.
The gate was open. I don't know.
All right, well, it's all going to be okay.
Hey, Tom. One of the things, and we've mentioned this on the show too, the female serial killers and the Sunset Strip killers. Carol Bundy. I mean, what is it with the name Bundy? What do you hate to have the word Bundy in the 80s? Again, this is one that there would probably have been a lot more victims, but I remember watching, there was a doc or a movie, something about this, and she was just a twist, man. She called the cops and report things, and she was just stone cold. So it's Douglas Clark and Carol Bundy. Kidnapped young women, forced sex, and then shot them. Clark was a necrophiliac. They dumped and dismembered bodies in public places, and Clark kept one severed head from a victim in a freezer. Mm-hmm.
Made up as a woman that they prostitute, I believe, and he'd have sex with the body every now and again with the head.
Another Silence of the Lambs. Everything. All these cases have something to do with the film steal from all these.
What was Bundy? Yeah. What was her job? Did she work
recruiting? Probably. Oh, you mean for
Carol Bundy? I can't.
An actual job.
I'll look it up real quick.
But they picked up a couple of tricks too.
Yeah, that was she's probably the person that trustworthy.
She was in the back seat with a handgun, and they killed, I think, one or two tricks that she'd picked up when Clark was out there running around. He's still around. She died. I think Clark's still living. Wow. But what a sick individual. Yeah. Then they displayed the head. I think we might have talked about this before on a signpost on one of the on-ramps to the freeway at Forest Lawn for a while.
Mm-hmm. They put the head out?
On a post, yeah. It was on a on-ramp, early morning traffic could check it out going on. I don't think it lasted too long, but I think that was the one he ended up with in his freezer.
That'd be like someone that can't afford a headstone, so they just keep your head out.
Good thinking.
That's basically the right analogy, I think.
Very good.
Hey, Gil, you can laugh out loud.
Tom, Cato's got to keep it light, I guess, right? But I mean...
But I understand it's like the insanity,
I know.
The psychopaths of how I think serial killers, I think they want to do things that will shock people to get their ego, if it's reported in the news, let's do this something so crazy that it'll be in print.
They want the attention.
Right.
And that's something that some people forget about sometimes. What if we don't give them any attention? What if we play that game a little bit with them? Try to tell that to the media. The media is going to do what the media is going to do. They're not always your friend.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're going to be a problem. It's particularly interesting, though, with a serial killer because there's always a little bit different. We broke all these down. I think I broke them down into 4 different MOs, distinctive MOs that helps us link these cases. But just when you think you've gone as far as you can, something else tops it. You never know how far they're going to go or what they're going to get away with. The media doesn't really care. Mm-hmm. And they have a job to do, and you got to keep that in mind. Mm-hmm. And that these people want to see their crimes all over the papers, all over TV.
Yeah, and if you keep the media out, if you think that's a strategy, and then the killers go, well, let me show you something that will get your attention. Here's 8 bodies right over here.
You try to do that, and you're going to have a problem. I know you got Gil coming in, but you look at the Ramirez case, and up in San Francisco, when he moved up to San Francisco, and the mayor up there had a little press conference, and let some information go that the killer saw and got rid of some evidence. Mm-hmm. When the politicians get a hold of it, everything changes.
Everything. Dianne Feinstein. She was the mayor of San Francisco. Right. He says what the shoes were, what the gun was, and then it ends up over the Golden Gate Bridge. Yeah. Shocking. Even Ramirez with his 12 IQ could figure that one out.
Yeah, that's the problem with releasing it to too many people.
Yeah.
You got to hold on to that stuff for court.
Not that you had a chance to talk to a lot of these serial killers. You did talk to some, maybe interrogated some too. What's it like when they're caught? Do they feel like the gig is up? Are they just basically cowards without their toolboxes and their guns and their rope and everything? And then do they melt down, or are they defiant?
It's like anything else. It's like anybody else. I've talked to people who have killed before, and you could line 6 of them up here, and you wouldn't know that they'd harm anybody. They could turn it on, they could turn it off. Who knows what's going on between their ears? We all look for answers. Sometimes you don't have an answer. Everybody is different to one degree or another. Mm-hmm. And that's what a serial killer is. They can just turn it on and turn it off. They have no conscience. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They can pick their nose or cut somebody's head off. It's the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's how you have to almost approach it. Like,
well, you do.
There is no answer, because how can you explain it? This is not black and white. You know what I mean?
I know one thing, though. If you're talking to somebody like that who has killed before, you don't bang your fist down and say, all right, you son of a bitch, I want it out of you, grab you, throw it against the wall. Never works.
Right.
It's all BS. Try to understand that, hey, I'm here to do a job. And the same with the Simpson thing. If you don't deal with somebody on their level with common sense, you're not going to get anywhere. Mm-hmm. If your intention was to get evidence or get a statement, you got to kind of roll over and play the game.
Stroke their ego.
And you got to think And you got to think long term too. I mean, you're not going to solve this in one conversation, right? You got to play the long road, you know?
Yeah, listen, we're here because I got a beer, I got a job to do. You know that. I just want to find out what's going on.
It's like what Gil told us when we did the Night Stalker. He said he'd call him Richard. And sort of like he makes the contact with him already. It's like, oh, you're a human being. So he gets more info.
Yeah.
Gil talks to a suspect. It takes about 2 minutes. Suspect really begin to like him.
Yeah.
This guy's really cool.
Well, that's if the suspect could get a word in.
Yeah. No, he is a master at that. Gil is, you don't get any better than Gil.
No,
not many interrogations will you break out tequila.
Yeah.
Hey, Tom, and by the way, coming up, next week, there's going to be an episode or two with Tom and Gil in studio together. Wow. So I'm excited for that. I know everybody is. All right. I'm going to put all the details of your book in our notes for the episode, The Dirty Business of Murder. You and Robert Souza did such a great job with this. But let's talk about this one chapter in here, Tom. It involves a cold case back in 1982, and it was an actor, a Hollywood actor. He wasn't a star, but he was a working actor. Yeah. It involves a business dispute, and there's so many crazy things about this story. His own daughter kept this story alive.
Velvet.
Yep, and almost became an amateur detective and did a great job. But what was it about this case? Because it's not like you didn't have your hands full with current cases. What made you go in 1982, look at this cold case and triggers you to say, let me take a look at that?
Well, of some interest was this happened just after the Laurel Canyon murders. And we were buried in the Laurel Canyon murders. My partner had just retired, and so I was working by myself. One thing that our unit did was pick up cold cases. Chet Marshall was the actor, Chester Marshall. He was 42 years old. In fact, he was murdered the day before his birthday. This happened in the Valley, in Studio City. He was bludgeoned to death. Chet Marshall was in a lot of shows from the 60s. Late 50s, 60s. You may have seen some. West Point was one of them. He was one of the cadets at West Point. I think another one was Whirly Birds. A lot of these TV things. Chet was, actors have times where there's nothing going on and they got to have some side gigs or whatever else. So Chester was involved with an acquaintance of his by the name of Don Reardon, and a Mexican national, I believe his name was Fragoso. 3 of them wanted to do a business. It was a tourist business about selling memorabilia and whatnot at the Mexican border between Mexico and the U.S. So they started this small business. Well, I've heard of this Don Reardon said, if we're going to have a business, we ought to have insurance. So they took out the so-called key man insurance. Mm-hmm. $300,000 policy where something to happen to one or the other. Yep. The others would get paid off for it. And they went along with this, and things weren't going real well. Chet Marshall was down, didn't have a lot going on between gigs on television, and he was renting a home on Stern Avenue in the Valley. And he was dealing with Reardon, and they were having arguments over the business. And he wanted to get a loan, a bank loan for $150,000. And he needed, in order to do that for the business, he needed a financial statement from Don Reardon. Reardon refused to give it to him. They argued about this. Things were so bad that Chet at one time gave Don Reardon a very expensive diamond ring. It was a family heirloom from the Marshall family. Reardon got it, and Chet wanted it back. He'd pay him back for the money and everything else, but Reardon did not return the ring. He kept this diamond ring. And it really pissed off Chet Marshall. They weren't getting along. About 3-4 days before this happened, it was June 20th, 1974. Now, I didn't pick this up until 1982. Oh. I picked it up as a cold case. But this occurred, like I said, in June of 1974. Chet was renting this home on Stern Avenue in the Valley from a guy who Don Reardon knew. Don Reardon calls this owner of the property up and says, listen, I've been trying to get a hold of Chet. I want to talk to him. And he's not answering his phone. Nobody answers the door. I'm a little concerned. Reardon tells this to the owner. He says, okay, well, I'll meet you there. So they meet at the Stern Avenue address. The guy comes, the owner, and he says, I got a key. Now, later on, apparently Don Reardon shouldn't have called him because he apparently had a key already. He didn't bother to tell anybody this. Later on, Reardon denies that he had a key. That's neither here nor there at this point. The man opens the door opens up. Reardon walks right in. Inside is dark. You can hardly see where you're going. He walks right into the living area, and you hear this, oh, shit. And so the owner comes in behind him, and there's Chet's body lying there. He'd been bludgeoned to death, apparently with a poker or something. They don't know. One thing leads to another. Van Nuys detectives picks it up. They do a crime scene investigation. Reardon becomes a person of interest, a strong person of interest, let's just say that, motive-wise, because he collects on the key man insurance.
Exactly. Keeps that gold ring, too.
Yeah, and also there's a glass found with a partial print on it on the counter. It has Don Reardon's print on it. It takes a while. This comes out. Back then, printing wasn't the art that it is today, I guess. It was just a partial, so they were able to make it, though, eventually on Reardon. So there's no other body in there. There's no forced entry. He supposedly has a key. So this goes on for a number of years, and it just kind of goes away. I pick it up as a cold case. And like I said, 1982, and this is just almost a year later, about 10 months after the Laurel Canyon thing. So I'm working by myself. I pick up Reardon, and when you pick up a cold case, you get the case done, you completely go over it, and you completely redo it again. And when you're through doing that, you do it again until you get a break and you have somewhere you can go, some direction it takes you. Because of Laurel Canyon.
And you mean Wonderland when you say Laurel Canyon,
Wonderland,
right? Yeah, Wonderland Killers.
Murders.
Yeah.
And that was just one. I had 2 or 3 others going.
Yeah.
But again, I was by myself. There wasn't a lot of L.A. You didn't have a lot of cops working. You give these things, it's only 24 hours a day, okay? And you got to prioritize what you had. The reality is Laurel Canyon, with 5 victims, took priority over Chet Marshall cold case.
Yeah.
But I was able to do one thing after another. Reardon was my suspect. I started running down people, and I ran into his, one of them was a former wife of his. They were still legally married at the time that it occurred. She tells me that Reardon admitted the killing. Mm-hmm. Back then, and still today, you have a husband-wife privilege. Even if she wanted to, she couldn't testify against him at the time. However, I had just found her in 1982, and when the statement she gives me about the admission, they were divorced. He'd threatened to kill her. He'd beaten her and everything else. He'd been arrested. He did a year in county jail for beating her.
Sounds like a pretty good lead, this Reardon guy.
She was terrified of him.
Yeah.
So I've got her as a witness who will testify against his admission that he killed Chet Marshall.
Because they're divorced now. So she
because
could.
now they're divorced.
Yeah.
She was willing. The problem there at the time was she was so emotionally involved that she was seeing a psychiatrist. Now you have another privilege. So they ended up with 3 different privileges. A client, attorney-client, husband-wife, doctor privilege, doctor-patient privilege. You got 3 privileges going now that I had to deal with. He went by her house. He turned her water off at one time, intimidating her, flattened all her tires, did all this stuff. She was terrified. Mm-hmm. I put enough together, and I got her together with her doctor and everything else, and I took this to the DA. And because this guy was who he was, a obvious sociopath, might even be a psychopath here. We don't have anyone would bludgeon somebody. You know, we never found a murder weapon.
He's
anyway,
a path of some sort.
Yeah, he needed to be in jail. He needed to be arrested. So I was able to get a felony warrant for his arrest. He split. We don't know where he is. One thing leads to another, and I re-interview, and I find out, well, he went to the VA hospital every now and again, and I'm a VA. I've been to the VA, and I understand that they're very liberal with folks they take in. It's not always people who got shot to hell that end up with the VA. So he would actually go to the VA in Westwood, sometimes almost for arrest, according to his former wife, just to get away from things. And I think, maybe he's there and that, maybe because we couldn't find him at all the local places. I had a felony warrant. I wanted to get him arrested before he did something to his wife or something worse. So I found him there, and I went in one midnight, and he was still there, and I hooked him up, and I booked him.
At the hospital?
At the hospital.
The VA in Westwood?
Yeah. And so we'd filed on him. We started to get the process, going to preliminary hearing, where he was held to answer. And I thought we had a pretty solid case, but we would need his former wife. Mm-hmm. This went on for a number of months, where we finally got a trial date, and she was seeing a psychiatrist. The Allie Jones is her name. Allie was seeing a psychiatrist, and she was having a problem. She was terrified. The DA pulled out, pulled the filing.
That had to piss you off. Oh,
well,
my God.
It does. Those things happen now and again. Now, you're working with politics. The district attorney would not be the district attorney unless they could come to the voters with a 92 or 94% conviction rate. It's not going to happen. So this was their concern. Very, very upsetting. Well, it gave this guy free rein. Don Reardon is out now running around doing what he wants. Ironically, I don't know why, but 3 months after I took this case, Don Reardon still has this ring that we'd mentioned. He pawns the ring in Van Nuys at a pawn shop. I find it there, and I got a hold of it, and I booked it as evidence. I got it out of pawn, and I booked the ring as evidence. He's out there running around loose. What do we do now? Well, basically nothing. About 6 months pass. The case has been dropped. Can't do anything else at this point. Reardon is still running around. He's terrifying his wife. I got a good buddy. There's a couple of endings here.
Okay.
I've left a little bit out here because I know there's a little time thing. But
Okay.
I wanted to get as much of that in as I could. But he's out. Warrant's been dropped. And one of my buddies calls me. He's got his groups that get together about every couple of weeks for fight night. Now, back in the 80s, I think fight night was on a Friday night.
They watch it on TV.
Yeah,
ABC
TV.
or whatever it was, yeah.
So he called me. He says, hey, I got fight night coming up. Got a couple of screens set up. A bunch of the guys are coming over. He got beer and everything else. He says, I'm really going to do it up right. I got food coming. He says, I even got a bartender coming. I said, that's pretty good. So I'll see you there. So I got there late. There's about 20, 25 guys, and the fights are already on, and the beer is flowing, and people are screaming. The guys are in the house. So my buddy Floyd, he says, I got a bartender, and he's great. I met him at one of his spots. You know what's coming, don't you?
Don't even say it.
He says, Tom, he says, a great guy. I want you to meet him. And this bartender. So I go over there, and I approach this bar area, kind of look like this table. And the guy's got his back to me. He says, Don. He says, Tom Lange, this is Don Reardon. Don, this is Tom. We're shaking hands over the table. We look at each other. drop her like we're dropping a rattlesnake or something, trying to strike us. He looks at me, and I look at him.
Here's the real fight going to happen right there.
No, Floyd, come over here. I'm telling Floyd what happens. Reardon splits from the end out the door, and he's gone. He never even got paid.
Oh, my.
Of all my vodka tonic.
Of all the gin joints.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
And it was Don Reardon was a bartender. The years go on. 2019, I get a call from the Police Museum in Washington, D.C., the National Police Museum, that I've done a lot of work with. I've done lectures and everything else with them. They say, hey, there's somebody trying to get a hold of you on one of your old cases. And I said, okay, what do you got? Well, it's this woman by the name of Velvet Marshall. And her dad was killed several years ago. And she'd like to talk to you about the case because she'd never gotten any information.
Right,
her
right.
dad was murdered.
Right.
Her mother was very sick, and so her and her sister ended up in being in the institution.
Sure.
They weren't raised with their parents.
I mean, think about it. This is 30, almost 40 years later from the murders in 1974.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So she's concerned. So I guess, I got time to do that. And I got to thinking, I still think this way. Victims' families have rights. And if you do what you do and you bust your ass to do what you do, maybe you owe it to the family before you owe it to anybody. Tell them at least what the hell happened. And this was one of those cases where I did. So I got a hold of her. We exchanged calls, emails, and everything else. And she had been following, she knew the name Reardon, and she'd been following him. But she says, I just don't have any information. I just want to know what happened. I'd like to know what happened to the ring and everything else. And I said, well, the ring, maybe it's still in evidence. I don't know, because I booked it into evidence. And I said, I'll follow up on that. And she says, well, he's running around and this, that, and the other. And so I said, well, let me call the current, I'd been retired for years, let me call the Van Nuys detectives and see what I can do, and I'll get back to you. So I wrote all this up for her. I got a hold of the Van Nuys detectives. One thing leads to another. They say, they found Reardon. We'll look at it again because now we have DNA. Didn't have DNA back in the 80s. So they do this, and I said, by the way, do you have a ring? I said, yeah, I got a ring, but I don't know if I can get the ring released. So I said, well, see what you can. This is the family, and I give them the whole story. So one thing leads to another, and then a couple of years ago, I do a follow-up again. I said, what's going on with the ring? He says, this one Van Nuys cop was retiring for 30 years. He'd been a cop. And he says, one of the best things I have in my career I was able to get that ring and release it to Velvet Marshall.
That is amazing. Got the ring back.
The very next day, Velvet sends me an email with her picture wearing the ring with a big smile on her face. And that really made me feel good.
That is an amazing story on so many levels.
She hadn't followed that up
and
did what she did. And she wouldn't have got the ring back, but she got closure. That's something that just doesn't happen. But this made me feel good that we could get some closure to this family. And Don Reardon died, by the way, about 3 years ago.
Chester Marshall was also in the actor in the old Superman, George Reeves, another murder trial.
Yeah.
With Superman.
That story's so great because, look, all she wanted to know is what happened.
Yeah.
And when you had him the second time and they threw it out, because of political reasons, she doesn't get that information.
No.
So she lives with, who killed my dad? Who did? This weird guy's a creep. And he goes on to, harass his wife forever. And, but that story is unbelievable. And it had to make you feel good, too, that at least after all that work, maybe you didn't get a conviction. Y'all know who did it. And at least the family knows and could feel better.
It is. And I still get calls on old cases sometimes, and I like that. Mm-hmm. I still do, because people give a damn. They want to know what happened. And working for a bureaucracy, many times we forget that.
Yeah. Well, if anyone calls you because somebody got stomped to death in Manhattan Beach after getting hit with a burner, don't take that call.
We ended the show with a good story, a positive note with the ring. Yeah.
No, Tom, that was awesome. That was a great story. All right. What a great episode. Fantastic. If you can stick around, I think we might hang out a little bit longer. I think we got a great treat for everybody. We'll keep you posted of what's coming up on this show in the next couple weeks, but it's going to be amazing. Amazing. You two are heading up to Napa. You said sometime September, October.
Napa
September.
is wine country, and I think if we have another episode, we should have some wine.
I would say so too. And I say you bring me back a couple cases, and we'll drink some more here. All right.
By the way, Tom, when you said that's Napa, actually, Tom and I are performing at a Napa Auto Parts. Let's just get that straight. You know, we're at a glass of
You're not
wiper
supposed
blades,
to say that.
some wiper fluid. I don't know.
Saving the best for last,
Yeah,
man.
you're not supposed to say that.
All right, Tom, you're the best.
All right.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me.
Okay.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
stick around, I hope.
Thanks,
Yeah,
everybody.
bro.
Zeus, thanks for your little covert op over there, turning the microphone around. Good job. Way to be alert. That's what I've been teaching you. Good job. All right. For the one and only Cato Kalin, the one and only Tom Lange, I am Tom Zenner. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you very, very soon.